The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Eight and a half minutes after 10 a.m. Good morning. You're listening to The Talking Points. It's still an honor and a pleasure being in your company. Thank you so much for listening to us and being a part of this conversation. So it's that time of the year again where a lot of young people, especially those who are awaiting their matric results, are anxiety filled because they're asking themselves, what's next for me? A lot of them will not be able to make it into a university, just based on the sheer limitations that exist around that. There aren't enough, slots. There aren't enough seats in the lecture theatres. There aren't enough available opportunities because we do not have enough universities in this country. So a lot of them will then have three options outside of university. One, sit at home and do nothing. That's an option. The second option would be to pursue some sort of vocational training in an FET institution. Or the third would be to enter the job market. Some may be lucky in a contracting economy to maybe find an opportunity. Many won't be. So many young people are going to be stuck between either sitting at home or going to and pursuing a vocational training in the very many institutions that we have available in the country offering those sort of opportunities. FET colleges, technical colleges, we have a lot of those. I'm not sure that we have enough of those, but I certainly know that we have more of those than we do universities. So that's certainly a good place to start. And today we're having a conversation about exactly that. Joining me to be a part of this conversation, Sabelo Buthelezi is the Chief Director for Artisinal at the Department of Higher Education and Training. I'm also joined in studio by Ncedisa Mpande, who's the Acting Chief Executive Officer of merSETA. And joining us on the line is Rendani Chibula, who's the PR and Stakeholder Engagement Manager for the Plumbing Industry Registration Board. Thank you so much for joining me in studio, guys. Really, really do appreciate it. Let's perhaps start here. Earlier on, I made the comment, Ncedisa, that artisanal and vocational occupations are not sexy.
No.
If you're a student that passed matric and you think you did well, you'd likely want to become an engineer than a boiler maker. You'd rather want to become, a doctor than you would want to become a nurse or whatever the case may be. Plumbing, artisanal skills are not positioned as attractive occupations. How do we change that?
Yeah, it's very interesting because when we do our road shows around the country, we hear a lot of those comments that it's not attractive enough. And I was having a conversation earlier with Mr. Buthelezi that as the Department of Higher Education and Training, maybe the conversations need to start earlier. Higher education with basic education. So we catch them at an early stage. You don't catch them on the 19th of January when the matric results are coming out, when they say, what do I do? You catch them when they're young. You show them what drives the economy. You show them why it's important to be artisans, so that when they choose their choice of subjects, even at high school, they know, I want to be a plumber, I want to be a boiler maker, I want to be not just the same focus that we put on being an accountant, because I'm an accountant. I know that when I was in high school, that I knew what an accountant was. But these young people, they don't know. When they see them, they see it as dirty trades. We need to change that. And that's where we come in as merSETA. Because with the fourth industrial revolution, it doesn't have to be dirty. There's a whole lot of qualifications that they can train on. And also fixing our colleges. That's where Mr. Buthelezi maybe can answer better there in terms of how do we prepare our TVET colleges and our FET colleges so that they prepare the students, not necessarily make them sexy, but young people want to go to attractive places. And how do we make those places attractive for them? So it's also in the optics, it's in the visual, also is what is in it for me. And merSETA does a lot of that. So we, a month ago...
Before we get to the programmatic conversation, I just sort of want to break through that barrier of this is a viable option, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Buthelezi, even in the language we use when we describe some of these careers, we'll speak of accountants, doctors, lawyers as professionals. But we don't use that language for fitters and turners, boilermakers, plumbers, carpenters. But it's a professional skill, right? We don't speak of those as professional careers even. In the layman's language. Maybe in the technical language we may do that. But has the Department of Education done enough to say to 14, 15-year-olds in South Africa, one day you can become a boilermaker and you can go work at a shipyard and you can travel the world and it will be a viable career for you and your family?
Thank you very much, Oliver. That's the narrative that we need to drive and focus. I agree with my colleague Ncedisa. I'm an artisan, by the way, by qualification. So what we need to do is to look on artisan identity and status the same way that we are looking on an accountant, a doctor. When an accountant enters the house, an accountant has entered, a doctor has entered. But we need to look the same way in terms of plumbers, in terms of boilermakers, in terms of and it's only in this country where we are not doing that. In other countries, in developed countries, it's artisans have a status. You look on developed countries. As an artisan, you really have a very high status. And also, coming to your earlier question in terms of how do we attract the youth. Basically, we need 60% of the school leavers need to consider career in vocational education rather than going to universities. We have more vocational education. That's what drives the economy. We can have engineers designing, but this beautiful building that we are in, it was built by bricklayers, by plumbers, by electricians. It might have been designed by 1 or 2 engineers, but how many bricklayers, how many plumbers, how many electricians were involved in terms of the actual work? That is what drives the economy of any country. So that is the narrative that we need to drive. And as a department, we have a number of programs that we are making these artisanal careers a career of choice. And our minister has been quite in a number of platforms saying we need to make the artisanal careers a career of choice.
Yeah. Rendani, do you have a reflection on that? I mean, you're with the Plumbing Industry Registration Board. I can tell you now, I did not think about becoming a plumber when I was 10 years old, because the plumber that came to fix our burst pipe at home under the sink, his butt crack was showing out. The entire thing just smelled dirty, because now I had to smell the toilet not flushing well for a while, and I just thought I cannot see myself doing this. But we need to make that an attractive. Ncedisa speaks about make the optics of it. How do we get the optics right? Rendani? Oh, do we have...
Hello?
There we go. You with us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Go ahead.
There we go. I think this is the first step, having such platforms of engagement. I think as trades, specifically the plumbing industry, and I love the fact that you mentioned the word sexy. We know that it's not a glamorous industry and it's not a first choice career option, but I think we as an industry have a responsibility of conscientizing and creating platforms to educate, because people have limited knowledge about this information, or actually don't even know. They just see things from face value and, hey, that's plumbing. They look broke, they look dirty, and that's definitely not sexy for me. It's not attractive. But I think more than anything, we have to create role models of the industry. Just like in the legal or economic sector, we have names that are there. And that's why us as a professional body have introduced a specific designation called the master plumber, that encompasses different attributes, from leadership attributes from business attributes. So it's not just a matter of doing the physical thing. But another thing is, it's also to make people aware that, look, this is something that you don't just wake up. You don't wake up in the morning and actually unblock a drain and you become a plumber. You actually get educated. And I think people have underestimated that because of limited knowledge. You actually have to go to a TVET institution. You have to learn the theory, the practical, just like in any other industry. That already brings credibility to the face of the industry, and I think that's why I spoke about the knowledge. But beyond that, I think as an industry, we have the responsibility to brand the industry. If you can't expect society to understand and know the value of something if it's not highlighted. That's why marketing is essential, and marketing the value proposition within the industry, the opportunities. It's not just technical opportunities, the administrative opportunities, there's entrepreneurial opportunities. That broadens the mindset. That already gives a sense of, oh, okay, I'm not just in overalls. I'm not just going to show my butt crack. I actually can create employment. I can actually be a solution bringer to the country. I can actually add to the GDP of this country. And that's how people will start recognizing trades, or specifically plumbing, as a significant career choice option. We have to create role models. We have to make it look attractive. It's like a diamond that hasn't been polished. It has value, but people will think it's a stone because it's still dirty, So we need to just polish it.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the president doing the State of the Nation address at some point, I think a year or two ago, and he was wearing the suit, and he was so joyous to tell us that the suit was locally made, but he doesn't tell us about the local plumber that fixed his toilet. 086 000 2032. Give us a call. What is your contribution or question to this conversation right now? Let's take a quick break. On the other side of this, we continue.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
086 000 2032. Give us a call if you want to be a part of this conversation. I'm in conversation with Sabelo Buthelezi, the Chief Director for Artisinal at the Department of Higher Education and Training, as well as Ncedisa Mpande, the Acting Chief Executive Officer for merSETA. Rendani Chibula is the PR and Stakeholder Engagement Manager for the Plumbing Industry Registration Board. Ncedisa, what does merSETA do?
Well, merSETA is one of 21 sector education and training authorities that were formed in 2001. All sectors are touched by SETAs. And merSETA is in the metals, engineering. We also tire, plastics. So we are in the metals and engineering sector.
So all the manufacturing-based sectors, am I understanding that correct?
Yes, correct. So we have more than 44,000 companies that pay levies to us.
Wow!
And those
are
companies,
these manufacturers?
Yes.
In the bulk, or is it a mix?
It's a mix.
Okay.
So it's a big. For example, if I'm thinking of one. Mercedes-Benz, ArcelorMittal, Total, Nissan, Ford. So if you
even petrochemical
yes.
Companies. Okay.
Yes, correct. Manufacturing. So they employ about 400,000 workers, and those workers, I'm sure as SABC, I'm not sure with which SETA you belong to. You in your pay slip, there's a 1% skills development levy that you pay, so that money comes to us, and then what we do with that money, then we will open a window about twice a year, and ask for companies to apply for any training opportunities, and we give them monetary grants and discretionary grants based on the need. So we do that every year. Last year alone, we paid about 1.1 billion rands in grants. So This is for all training interventions. So when they make the application, we open the window. They come in, we look at the application, we go and do verifications, they come to us, we approve, and then we disperse the funds. And we follow it up, we disperse it in different ways depending on what the training the requirements that they ask for. And at the end of the day, our job is to make sure that we facilitate training, we disperse funds to make sure that the industry is skilled. So that is, if you think of
how much do you collect in levies?
As merSETA, we collect about 1.2 billion rands per annum.
So last year you collected 1.2 billion in levies, and you dispersed 1.1 billion
Yes.
in training grants.
Yes. So if you, as an accountant, I'm going to try and...
so you only used 100 million for administrative costs?
No. So that 1.1 billion we collected. Remember, we also have reserves. So we've got money that's sitting in banks because we've got commitments to the value of about 4.5 billion. So if someone comes and asks for money from merSETA, it's not a 1-year contract. Some contracts we sign up to 4 years. So we've got MOAs from 1 year contracts, 2-year contracts. So when we sign the MOA with you, we put that money aside and say, this is what we will be paying for company ABC. So that money I'm talking about, the money we collected, is just for the last financial year. So we can only use about 10.5% of that on administration. So if you receive 100 rands, only 10 rands 50 can go into the rent of the building, the salaries. The about 49% must go to, about 20% goes to mandatory grants. By mandatory means if you contribute and you can prove to us that you've contributed and you submit necessary documents, then we give you that 20% of what you've contributed. And then the balance of it is discretionary. So that's where we open a window and say, we've got this window open. If you've got training opportunities in these sectors, in these opportunity, in this in the following in the following opportunities, please apply, and then we'll give you the money.
So let's concretize this. I manufacture generators, hypothetically speaking, right? I manufacture generators, but installing these generators is another job in and of itself. I only but manufacture it. And I realize there's an opportunity. A lot of my clients want me to come and install. I don't yet have that capacity as far as human capital is concerned. But I want to hire young people, but I also have to train them in how to install a generator. So now I come to you, I say, Ncedisa, please give me some money. I want to teach young people how to install a generator in a house. You then look at it, you're like, okay, you've paid your levies, you're compliant, you've paid your taxes. Maybe you have an agreement with SARS to make sure that's a requirement. And you then give me money. I train those young people on how to install generators. And then I employ some of them later on. Am I understanding that value chain correctly?
The value, that's, if you were to simplistically put it, that's how it is. So what we do though is, before we give you that money, we go and check whether you do have the capacity to train. So you can come and say, I've got a huge building, I've got capacity to train 10 people. But we've got, we will send our CLOs and say, go and check if there's this capacity. And then our CLO will say, no, I know that I can see that they do have the capability, but they will not be able to train the 10 that they're asking for. We recommend that for now we give them 2. So that they train those 2, and as they train them, and the nice thing about our the trades that they get training on, they don't have to wait for jobs. They then can go, and these young people can go and open their own businesses. And I think that's what Rendani was saying. Yes, you go to a TVET college for training and proper qualification, and then you go and get some work experience. The nice thing about these trades is that you can immediately, if you've got the right mentors, you've got the right training, you can immediately open your own business. And we don't only give money for training for those trades. We also entrepreneurial skills,
enterprise
training,
development,
finance, enterprise development.
Right.
We do offer those kind of support, and we are not the only SETA. There are other SETAs as well that we collaborate with to make sure that young people don't just depend on the economy. They create the economy.
Absolutely.
So
Sabelo, if I then if I go to Ncedisa and she says, I don't think you have the capability, just not the capacity, and I say, yeah, but okay, I really think this would help me grow my business if I got these 10 young people into go and install generators, but they need the training and the skills. If I come to you and say, do your colleges do this? Can I collaborate with one of your colleges as an opportunity to train some young people and bring them into the business? Is that something the department gets involved in?
Definitely. The department is looking at building the capacity of TVET colleges to train particularly artisan Hence, in 2014, the minister launched the Decade of an Artisan, which is a program that is running up to 2024. And in 2017, we launched the Centers of Specialization, which we are building capacity of TVET colleges to train artisans of the 21st century using the latest technology, ensuring that they are properly trained on the knowledge, on the practical, and they have workplace skill. That's where we then work with SETAs, so that SETAs will fund the workplace component. They will make it easier for employers to use the TVET colleges as the institutions of choice, so that they will also become attractive to young people. They know that if I go to a TVET college, I will then be able to get a skill that will lead to employment. And also employers, they are getting this relief from the SETAs. It's not, by the way, it's not the only relief that they get. They get tax rebate if they are doing training and they qualify. You apply to SARS, you get tax rebate, and a lot of other incentives for training young people in technical and vocational education.
It's 10:30. Let's take your news headlines.
Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
Give us a call if you have any questions for any of my panelists. If you want to make a contribution to the conversation, really do appreciate it. We lost Rendani there. We're just going to try and reconnect with him, because I also want him to contribute around how important corporate partnerships and SETA partnerships are to the industry that he operates in. Ncedisa, let me bring this back to this. Do you prescribe what the grants can and can't be used for, and do you track that? So for instance, if I get money from you, can I use that money to pay the salaries of the 10 people I'm going to train, give them a stipend of sort, or do I have to use it specifically for training material and training operations?
We do prescribe it, but we also in the amount we say you can use about 7.5% of this for project administration, because we do understand that those training materials need to be bought. It's not just about learners coming in and getting training. So we prescribe it in the sense that these are this is what we can use the money for as per our SLA, because remember, when they apply, they say we want to provide training in the following, and then we agree. We say we'll give you that money for this, and then when we sign that SLA, we say, okay, we're going to disperse money in the following. Usually we do it in 4 trenches. When you sign the MOA, we give you money so that you can do what you need to do, and then when you prove to us that you've registered the learners, we give you another batch, and so on and so forth. And on completion, you must prove to us that these learners did get the qualification, the training that you asked money for, and then we give you that money. So it is prescribed. We've got the Skills Development Levies Act that says, for example, you can't use it for, I don't know, you can't go to Mauritius, Oliver, with it. We expect that. We also have the Auditor General. What they do is they are our watchdog. So what they do,
because you're a statutory body,
of course. So what they do is they pick any project. They pick any project and they give us a list and say, we're going to visit these companies to check whether they've used the money for what they said they would do.
Do those spot audits ever come back making you look suspicious?
No, we've got unqualified audits for the last 21 years of existence at merSETA.
Are your let's call them levy partners, or let's call them industry member organizations, are they largely compliant, especially with levy payments and that sort of stuff?
Yes, they pay to SARS. So
SARS
they don't pay directly to us. So we get the allocation. So they have to, because they do get registered for levy payments with SARS. So they in a large some of them, they even though they don't qualify, they still pay. So what we do is, if we receive money from a company that shouldn't be paying levies, we keep that money and we refund it, because we also have a threshold that you must make so much levy income. I think it's about 500,000, and then if you make less than that, you don't have to pay the levy. So it is very regulated, and not just, okay, I want to go back to the last comment. It's not just the AG, we also have our managers who go and do those site visits.
Right.
Yes. And
does Minister Ibrahim Patel ever call you and say, Ncedisa, hey, we have a shortage of people in shipyards, in the marine economy, for instance, the maritime economy? Can you make sure that you earmark a lot more levies for companies in that industry so that we can train as many people there, or is it entirely up to your discretion?
Well, we do have those requests. For example, whatever government, the discussions that happen in terms of the National Skills Development Plan. So there are conversations that happen that say, we as a country, we need so many artisans, we need them in the following sectors. So we do get those calls and say, okay, merSETA, please make sure that you give us so many artisans. And what we do, we also very attuned in terms of the needs of the industry. We know that like in the marine, there's the qualifications that need to that we concentrate on there. So we do give support for that. I've never personally received a call from him, but those requests do come.
Yeah, I mean, I was as being a little bit facetious, but you get the gist of it.
Yeah.
400,000 people are employed in this industry that pay levies to merSETA. Do you know how many training opportunities you funded last year?
Sure, I know we signed commitments. So if you look at our commitment register, it's sitting at 4.8 billion rands. So we committed, because it was at 3.5, and then we added another 1.3 billion. So in terms of MOAs that were signed last year alone, it doesn't mean that the training was delivered. So that 1.2 billion is actually money that was actually paid. It may have resulted from MOAs that were signed in the last financial year or in the previous financial years. So we do keep track of that, but we've got commitments to the value of about 4.8 billion rands.
But Buthelezi, does Ncedisa ever give you money?
Yes, they do.
Because I'm assuming some of the colleges would need money
for specific project, not for department operation, but for specific projects that are happening at TVET College. We do partner with SETA. One quick point that I just want to quickly highlight that on what you were raising with DISA. The department publishes, and we review this on annual basis, the list of skills in high demand.
Okay.
That is what drives.
What are the top 5 right now?
I can't say the top 5 on top of my head now, but I can tell you that within the top 13 that we are doing in terms of artisanal training, your plumbers are there, your welders are there, your electricians are there, your fitter and tenors, your millwrights, because one of the projects that we are doing at the department, also funded by different SETAs, is the centers of specialization, where we work with different employer organizations like institutes of plumbers, like your retail motor industry, like your SIFSA. We then do a project that will train artisans on the top 13 skills that are coming from the list of skills in high demand that has been
so
researched.
When you say high demand, to me it means if I have a skill in that skill list, I'm not going to be unemployed. Is that what it means?
That's basically what it means, because we will engage in a with the sector and say, what are skills, like for instance in broadcasting, what are skills where you are not finding suitably qualified people, and then we will rank those in terms of demand. And then we'll say this is the skill that is in high demand, so that these are the areas that we need to engage SETAs to focus on. We need to drive our TVET colleges. Hence, we have set these 34 centers of specialization in 20 TVET colleges, so that they work in partnership with the industry to train the artisan for those particular skills that are in high demand.
Yeah. Rendani, what's the likelihood that a plumber would be unemployed?
Look, I always say this, plumbers are responsible for transporting the most valuable commodity, which is water. And every aspect of society requires water. There's a maintenance side to it. There's new developments. There's consistent structural development that's aligned to plumbing. So I think if a plumber is professionally licensed by the professional industry body, there's a limited likelihood or chance that they'll be unemployed, because the work is so broad. But because the fact that there's limited information, going back to the conversation I was having earlier with you, is that because the fact that there's limited information, only a certain amount of people are benefiting from the value that's there. Only a limited amount of people, but definitely employment is very broad. I mentioned earlier, there's technical opportunities, there's administrative opportunities, there's entrepreneurial opportunities. Even within the technical opportunities, there's different specializations. So the pie is huge. There's this big saying that you can get a piece of the pie, but the plumbing industry doesn't work with pieces of pies. It actually has baking powder. It has different flavors, because there's
how many licenses do you guys issue per year on average?
Not specifically one license. You just literally register with us. Once you've passed your trade test, which is formerly known as a red seal, you go through an induction process so that we make the plumber so equipped that they understand standards that are required, regulations. So you just need to be licensed, but in that license you have a specific designation. You specialize in something. You're either a learner plumber, or you're a master plumber, or you're a licensed plumber. You're a technical specialist, or you're a technical assistant. But in essence, it's one license that specifies what your expertise are.
We spent the last couple of minutes speaking about the value chain of a lot of these industries and the stakeholders that plug into that. Similarly, in the plumbing industry, are there a lot of training opportunities that exist for a matriculant listening right now, thinking, actually, I might want to become a plumber? Do those training opportunities exist, not necessarily through merSETA, but just your partner companies?
Most definitely. We as an industry, or as a professional body, don't just isolate ourselves. We work with the Institution of Plumbing South Africa, which works essentially on training and development, but we work with technical institutions, your TVET colleges. Apart from that, we as an industry have also realized that we have to broaden our horizons. We have to take this back to basic education as well, which I have to give, sometimes we critique our government a lot, but we have to give praise to the fact that they're conscientizing young people in the development of trades already. There's certain projects that they've aligned to education, where young people already are aware of these industry choices and they can select them from a very young age. But I can't mention that there's room for improvement. Certainly, you can't punch with a finger. You have to put all fingers together to create a force, and that's why we're trying to tighten our relationships with our seaters, with government, with all our role players together. But there are platforms where people can actually develop themselves and train in becoming a professional plumber.
086002032. Our telephone lines are lighting up. Let's speak to Nolene out in Durban. Nolene, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Nolene. What's on your mind this morning, ma'am?
I just phoned to say I just so agree with everything that your speakers are saying. I think, we could improve by, at school level, telling people, these youngsters, more and more about trades and how to go into a trade, which are so, so valuable. I mean, as you earlier said, your drains get blocked at home, your toilet or whatever, and who do you call? A tradesperson. You don't call an accountant or a doctor. So, they provide a hugely valuable service, but I think it's downplayed. And the status needs to be raised by possibly school counselors when they are talking to children about what career path to follow. Not everybody is a major academic that's going to go and split the atom.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe we should start at that level and encourage more people to go into these valuable trades.
Absolutely. But Buthelezi, that idea of school counselors going and talking to kids in schools about career opportunities, are there partnerships that DHET have with a lot of these institutions that do these talks?
Correct. Even at Department of Higher Education and Training, there is a specific unit that deals with career guidance. It even goes to taxi rank, to train station.
Do we have enough of them? I've never seen them.
They might not be everywhere.
Sure,
but we do have them. And also, Department of Basic Education, they do run career guidance. SETAs, they have dedicated career guidance. But as it said, it's not enough. We need to do more.
Yeah.
We need to get more to primary schools, to high schools.
The quality of artisans we produce in our FET colleges, do they meet international standards? Is it an exportable skill?
Definitely. In fact, South African artisan, they are sort of all over in the world. Some of them, they are migrating to Canada, to New Zealand,
Australia,
to Australia. Yeah. Those are the areas that use our artisan. So the quality of artisans that we are producing, they can work anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's just that we need to promote the artisanal careers.
Rendani, are your plumbers exportable? Your master plumbers? Rendani?
Definitely, it goes without a doubt. I mean, our previous speaker right now just mentioned it. The quality of the work we produce.
We seem to
and the quality. It's so sad that really from a macro perspective, we don't really. Can you hear me?
Renani, I'm going to have to put you back and see if we can get you on a better line. It keeps cutting in and out, and I'd really love to hear what you're saying. But let's continue taking some of your calls. Wesley in Joburg, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Dixon. Compliments to you and your panel.
Thank you so much, sir. What's your comment or question?
Firstly, let me just commend you for what you started with, that you're doing woodwork and stuff like that, and that was great to hear from you. I just want to say, I wonder, I might be off the subject, but I wondered whether is there no way in which we could look at work in a holistic way. As you were saying earlier, I sometimes hear that we will talk of, including trade unions, talk of decent work. But I thought that as a country which is developing, all work is decent. What we need are decent wages. If you don't have cleaners in the hospital, they are just as important as doctors and so forth. So I just wondered whether we shouldn't really start cultivating that mind in which we look at all work. We are building a country. All work should be sacred. And we would ask our leaders to really try, including our trade unions, don't make people who are doing other work as if it's menial work. Work in a country that is being built is extremely important. If you go to Australia, when one was when you're in overseas, a white person comes in to come and clean you, you get surprised because with us it's a low kind of thing. But any work should be decent. And just
absolutely.
Somebody spoke of schools, churches, and other places, and in fact religious institutions. We are building a country, Dixon, and everything that we do. If I'm a retired Methodist minister, if I was asked to sweep, I would sweep with a prayer in my heart. Because that work has got to be done.
Thank you so much for that, Wesley. I'm going to have to leave you there. Thank you so much for your call. Really do appreciate it. Ncedisa, growing up, I did well in maths and science at school. And for me, I thought this will get me and my family out of poverty. Right? And I thought the best way out of this is because I'm good at maths and science, I'm going to go study engineering and science. And that's exactly what I did, albeit I'm doing broadcasting now. But the earning potential was the calculation I made. Are manufacturing jobs well-paying jobs for those who are making that calculation right now?
if you were to ask Rendani now how much he charges out for a call-out fee for a plumber.
Rendani, how much do plumbers charge for a call-out fee? Rendani?
I don't want to upset and make certain plumbers happy, but I can tell you right now, it's a credible number. You know, it's a respectable figure. You know, and
Yes.
it obviously depends on.
Give us a range. Give us a range.
I don't want to make my plumbers upset and
Yeah.
I'm happy. I don't want to do that. I'll be shooting myself in the foot. But what I can tell you that it's you have to respect their time.
Yeah.
You know, you need to respect their time, and time has a sense of value attached to it. And once you understand that, you will see that it's actually economically viable. It's
Rendani doesn't want to give an answer, but I'll give you an answer. Last time I called a plumber, I paid 1,000 rand for just
Correct.
the call out.
There we go.
Before they even look at what's wrong.
Before they even look at it.
So if you start with a plumber and you go all the way, that's how it is.
Do welders, do they make good money?
Very good. I think he's an artisan. He can answer that question. They make
Yeah,
very
but
good
now
money.
he's an administrator.
Well, an artisan. He's always an artisan.
But Buthelezi?
Definitely.
Is it above the average in South Africa?
Artisans are earning above average in South Africa. They are earning quite well.
Very well.
You go to the manufacturing sector, look on the salaries of artisan. Go to the mining sector, look at salaries of artisan. Any sector, they are earning quite far above average. It's just that it might have not been something that is spoken about. Some of them, they might be even earning more than what a lawyer makes. And other profession and other white collar profession makes.
Sure.
But because they are wearing these overalls, we think they are not making money, but they are making a good living and they are creating employment opportunities, which is key.
Yeah. Let's continue taking some of your calls. Piri out in Alex. Good morning, sir. Piri? Seems like we may have lost Piri. We'll try getting back on the line there. Mandla in Gqeberha. Good morning.
Morning, Oliver.
Go ahead, sir. What's on your mind?
Oliver, I don't know which that means. I've got goosebumps when you talk about artisans. You know, coming to your story, Oliver, where you said you used to see this what do you call it, the plumber coming in, part cracks and all of that.
Yeah.
With me, by the way, I'm a motor mechanic. I'm a qualified motor mechanic. So with me, I used to see what was in Cape Town on the town street, dirty overalls and fixing cars, but now never. Then after matric, my mother, I didn't do well in matric. Then my mother asked me, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "No, I'm looking for a job that's gonna wear a tie and a suit." He said, "No, man, there's a lot of those guys, graduates who are who pass and then who are sitting at home. Why don't you go to the TVET?" TVET, man. Then I said, "No, man, just try it out. And when you get there, try to do something that you're gonna work with your hands. Don't go for like your business management, office and all of that." Then I said, "Okay, let me try the motor mechanic." I went there, Oliver. I did my 3 years. Mind you, in the first year, I was a top achiever. I was studying. I don't know whether I must mention this. I was studying in Force College in Cape Town. Force College has about 5 campuses. I was in Khayelitsha. I was a top achiever in motor mechanics with the other lady. So mind you, in the following year, the second year, I was an SRC. And mind you, because of what I was a top achiever, I was nominated to go to overseas because Force College has an exchange program. I'm not sure whether now, because that was back then in 2012. I went to Norway. Stayed there for a week because in that exchange program, on the following year, the guys from Norway, they come to South Africa in Force College, and so we have that. Then as we go there, we learn about all rigs and all of that. Cut the story short. I passed. Then at Force College, when you pass well, because I did the interview, so I passed well in my final year, then they didn't find me a job. They called me, said, "Man, I must go there." I went to a company called Magadams. We were assembling fridges, those big fridges that they make, what do you call it, those big retail shop. That's the
Yes,
big
yes,
bread
yes,
and
yes.
all of that. The big one. We assembled that. Then on the following year, they phoned me say I must go to, I don't know whether I must mention this company.
Do you feel like you have a sense of job security in your industry, Mandla?
Too much.
Okay.
I'm getting to that. I'm not aware. I'm not using too much of your time. Then I went. They said I must go to Toyota. I went to Toyota. I did my apprenticeship for 4 years. After that, I qualified. I did my trade test.
Yeah.
And then I worked for Toyota for about 7 years.
Oh wow,
But
that's really good. Yeah,
But
Mandla,
then now this. Yeah.
we're gonna have to
Then
leave it
this-
there, man. I really do appreciate you sharing your story with us. Really do appreciate it. Jonas out in Sasolburg. Good morning.
Morning, Oliver.
Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Oliver, I'm one of the blind entrepreneurs here in Sasolburg. So my company, Anka Construction and Trading, will also like to provide artisanal trainings. So, in fact, in fabrication, welding, pipe fitting, mechanical fitting. So I would like merSETA to assist me with accreditation, so that I can be accredited, so that I can give people legal qualifications that are accredited. And Rendani too, if he can assist me with plumbing license, so that I can also provide plumbing skills to use here in Sasolburg.
Yeah.
Because we stay in petrochemical industrial area. There is a lot of refineries here around. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Jonas. Really appreciate it, sir. Do you wanna speak to that, Ncedisa?
If he can leave his details, we can get people from merSETA to assist him.
Actually,
Jonas.
how do people? What's the best way to get a hold of merSETA if you want to access some of the grant opportunities that exist?
We are national. We've got our head office is here in Parktown, but we've got presence in all provinces. We've got a website. It's merseta.org.za. If you need any information, we update it there. And if I think that's the easiest way to get hold of us. But we can also leave some numbers if people would like to call and find out in their specific areas they want to speak to specific people. Then we can leave a number that they can contact.
Yeah. We'll do that. We'll do that right at the end. But Buthelezi, there's a young person listening right now thinking, okay, let me get started, but they don't know where to start. They're waiting for the matric results. They get it, they realize they pass next week. What do they do?
In every district, we have a TVET college. They visit the TVET college, look at the careers, visit our Department of Higher Education and Training website. Look, there are specific college that we have given them the status of being centers of specialization. Look on how those colleges can, in your locality, they can assist you to link you with the industry, so that you could also get the list of occupations in high demand, so that your choice is informed by something that you will be able to, that will lead you to employment or create employment. So TVET college is the way to go.
Yeah. Rendani, do you guys with the plumbing industry registration board, do you help opportunity finding, placement finding, training opportunity location? Do you guys assist with that?
Yes, so what we do is we align ourselves with the entire industry. We have 5 different role players within the industry I mentioned earlier as well. So we can align any young
Rendani.
apprentice.
Oh, we completely can't hear you there. Can you try that again, Rendani?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, not at all. We've completely lost that connectivity with Rendani. Look, we'll try to get that information. I'll tweet it out. So follow me on Twitter at Oliver_speaking. I certainly will tweet out the number that Ncedisa will leave us with. And maybe that will help you find that allocation. I'm also on Facebook, Oliver Dixon on Facebook. Find me over there. We'll tweet it from and post it from the SAFM social media accounts. That's on Facebook as well as on Twitter. So find me on those platforms, and I'll certainly disperse disperse that information so that you can have it readily available. Ncedisa, thank you so much for your time. Really, really do appreciate it. Rendani, appreciate your time as well. Sabelo, Buthelezi, appreciate you coming into studio and having this conversation with us. Critically important conversation. We'll have more of these sort of conversation next week.